Sophia, with her brown hair tousled by the wind and her eyes wide with anxiety, burst through the door of her grandmother Maria's house. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The familiar smell of freshly baked cookies filled the air, but even that couldn't calm the whirlwind of emotions the girl was carrying with her. Her hands trembled slightly as she clutched the strap of her school backpack tightly, as if it were a protective shield. Maria, a gray-haired woman with kind eyes, immediately sensed that something was wrong. She approached Sophia, her wrinkled face marked with concern, and gently placed a hand on her granddaughter's shoulder. The ticking of the old wall clock seemed to echo in the tense silence that settled between them. Sophia took a deep breath, gathering the courage to share the burden weighing on her young, innocent heart. With a trembling voice and tear-filled eyes, Sophia began to open up. The words came out hesitantly at first, like drops from a leaky faucet, but soon became a torrent of distressing revelations. She described, with a mixture of shame and fear, the actions of Uncle Carlos. She talked about touches that made her uncomfortable, whispered words that should never be spoken to a child, and games that left her feeling dirty and confused. Maria listened attentively, her heart breaking with each word from her granddaughter. She struggled to maintain her composure, knowing she needed to be strong for Sophia. The grandmother held the girl's small, trembling hands, offering silent support, while internally, her mind raced with a mixture of anger, shock, and determination to protect her precious granddaughter. The initial shock gave way to a fierce resolve in Maria. She knew she had to act, but also understood the importance of gathering concrete evidence. With a heavy heart, she made a difficult decision. While Sophia was distracted with a snack in the kitchen, Maria quickly rearranged the living room. She moved a chair strategically, creating a perfect hiding spot behind a thick curtain. With trembling hands, she positioned her old cassette recorder, testing it to make sure it was working. The guilt of resorting to such measures gnawed at her, but she pushed those thoughts aside, focusing on the need to protect Sophia. Maria mentally rehearsed how she would handle the situation when Carlos arrived, praying for the strength to face this devastating situation. The sound of the doorbell echoed through the house, causing both Maria and Sophia to freeze. Carlos walked in, his easy smile and relaxed posture contrasting sharply with the tense atmosphere that filled the room. He greeted Maria casually, his eyes quickly finding Sophia. Maria watched closely, analyzing every movement, every glance, every word from Carlos, her heart pounding so loudly she feared it could be heard from her hiding spot. Sophia, visibly uncomfortable, tried to keep her distance, avoiding direct eye contact with her uncle. Carlos, seemingly oblivious to the shift in everyone's behavior, moved around the room with a disturbing familiarity. Maria clenched her fists, fighting the urge to immediately confront him. From her hiding place, Maria listened with growing horror to the conversation between Carlos and Sophia. Carlos's voice was low and syrupy, talking about fun games and special secrets that should stay between them. Sophia responded with monosyllables, her voice small and scared. Maria felt sick hearing Carlos suggest they play like last time. Each word was like a knife to Maria's heart, who fought to contain her emotions and remain hidden. She watched as Sophia visibly recoiled when Carlos tried to approach her, the child's body language screaming discomfort and fear. Maria gripped the recorder in her hands, knowing that every word captured was crucial, but desperately wishing she could stop this terrible scene. Unable to bear it any longer, Maria emerged from her hiding place, her eyes blazing with fury. "How dare you!" she shouted, her voice trembling with anger and disgust. Carlos stepped back, surprised, his face quickly shifting from shock to defensiveness. Maria unleashed all her accusations, her voice growing louder with each word. Sophia, frightened by the outburst, huddled in a corner. Carlos tried to deny everything, his voice oscillating between pleas and threats. The argument escalated, years of trust and family bonds crumbling in minutes. Furniture was pushed aside, voices rose, and the air grew heavy with accusations and denials. Maria, determined to protect Sophia, physically positioned herself between her granddaughter and Carlos, her eyes never leaving the face of the man who had so terribly betrayed the family's trust. With his face red with anger and shame, Carlos finally retreated towards the door. His final words were a mix of veiled threats and pathetic attempts to justify himself. "You will regret this," he shouted, pointing accusingly at Maria and Sophia. "This isn't over." With one last look of hatred, he slammed the door so hard the pictures on the walls rattled. The silence that followed was deafening. Maria, still shaking from the adrenaline, turned to Sophia, who was curled up on the sofa, silent tears streaming down her cheeks. The immediate danger had passed, but they both knew this was only the beginning of a long and painful journey. Maria hugged Sophia, whispering words of comfort, while her mind was already racing with the next steps to protect her precious granddaughter. The silence after Carlos's stormy departure was broken only by Sophia's muffled sobs. Maria, still trembling from the confrontation, took a deep breath and approached her granddaughter. With gentle movements, as if approaching a wounded animal, she sat beside Sophia on the sofa. "It's okay now, my love," she murmured, her voice hoarse with emotion. Sophia, initially tense, slowly allowed herself to be enveloped by her grandmother's comforting arms. Maria stroked the girl's hair, whispering words of comfort and safety. She knew that the trauma would not disappear with mere words, but she was determined to be the safe harbor Sophia so desperately needed at this moment. Gradually, Sophia's sobs subsided, replaced by calmer breathing. Maria continued to hold her granddaughter, her own heart breaking for the innocence that had been stolen from Sophia. With Sophia finally asleep on the sofa, exhausted by the emotional turmoil, Maria picked up the phone with trembling hands. She hesitated for a moment, the weight of the news she was about to share pressing on her shoulders. Finally, she dialed Anna's number. Each ring of the phone seemed to last an eternity. When Anna answered, her cheerful voice was like a stab to Maria's heart. "Anna, dear, I need you to come here immediately," Maria said, struggling to keep her voice steady. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. Maria then began to explain, her words tumbling out in a torrent of anguish. She heard Anna's breathing become uneven, interspersed with gasps of shock and disbelief. The conversation was brief but laden with emotion. When they hung up, Maria knew that her daughter's world, like Sophia's, would never be the same again. The screech of tires in the driveway announced Anna's frantic arrival. She burst through the door, her wild eyes immediately searching for Sophia. Seeing her daughter asleep on the sofa, Anna fell to her knees, silent tears streaming down her face. Maria approached, embracing her daughter tightly. For a few moments, mother and daughter remained like this, united in their pain and disbelief. Anna finally pulled away, her eyes searching for answers in her mother's wrinkled face. How could this happen?" she whispered, her voice breaking. Maria shook her head, unable to explain the inexplicable. Anna moved to the sofa, gently stroking Sophia's face, as if to make sure her daughter was really there, safe. The initial shock began to give way to a growing rage, and Anna turned to Maria, her eyes now burning with determination. "What do we do now?" she asked, her voice low but firm. With Sophia still asleep, Maria and Anna gathered in the kitchen, their voices low but intense. "We have to call the police right now," Anna insisted, her eyes blazing with maternal fury. Maria, more cautious, pondered, "We need to think carefully, dear. Sophia will need to go through exams, give statements. Are we ready for that?" The tension was palpable, the ticking of the clock marking each second of indecision. Anna paced back and forth, running her hands through her hair in frustration. What if he does this to another child? We can't let him go free. Maria nodded, understanding the dilemma. They discussed the pros and cons, weighing the additional trauma Sophia might face against the need for justice and prevention. The decision weighed on them like a dark cloud, each option carrying its own devastating consequences. With heavy hearts, Anna and Maria gently woke Sophia. The girl blinked, momentarily confused, before reality hit her once again. Anna sat beside her daughter, holding her small hands in her own. "Sweetheart," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "we need to talk about what happened with Uncle Carlos." Sophia visibly recoiled, her eyes filling with tears. Maria approached, offering silent support. With infinite patience and carefully chosen words, they guided Sophia through delicate questions. Every hesitant answer from Sophia felt like a knife in the hearts of the two women. They struggled to maintain their composure, constantly reassuring Sophia that she had done nothing wrong. The conversation was painful, punctuated by long silences and suppressed tears, but necessary to understand the extent of the abuse and plan the next steps. After the difficult conversation, Maria looked at Anna with determination. "We need to take her to a doctor," she said quietly but firmly. Anna nodded, understanding the need but visibly apprehensive. Sophia, hearing this, clung to her mother's arm in fear. "I don't want to go to the doctor," she exclaimed, panic evident in her voice. Maria knelt in front of her granddaughter, her eyes level with Sophia's. In a soft voice, she explained the importance of the exam, not just for Sophia's health, but also as potential evidence. Anna chimed in, reassuring her daughter that she would be by her side the entire time. Despite the visible fear in Sophia's eyes, she slowly agreed, trusting in her grandmother and mother. The tension in the air was palpable as they prepared for this next difficult but necessary step in their journey for justice and healing. As night fell, the emotional exhaustion of the day weighed heavily on everyone. Anna anxiously glanced at the door, as if expecting Carlos to return at any moment. Maria, noticing her daughter's fear, suggested, "Why don't you both stay here tonight?" The relief on Anna's face was immediate. Sophia, still clinging to her mother, nodded vigorously. Together they transformed the living room into an improvised campsite, dragging mattresses and covering them with soft blankets. Maria prepared calming tea while Anna told light-hearted stories to distract Sophia. Despite the terrible situation, there was a sense of unity and strength in this small refuge they had created. The three huddled together, forming a protective circle around Sophia. Although sleep was hard to come by, the comfort of each other's presence offered a small solace in this night of uncertainties and fears. At dawn, Anna and Sophia quietly left Maria's house. The fresh morning air couldn't dispel the cloud of anxiety hanging over them. In the car, Sophia remained quiet, her fingers nervously playing with the hem of her shirt. Anna drove with determination, casting worried glances at her daughter through the rearview mirror. When they arrived at the specialized clinic, they were greeted by a staff trained in sensitive cases. The waiting room, decorated in soft colors and filled with toys, tried to create a welcoming atmosphere. Dr. Oliveira, a middle-aged man with a kind smile, greeted Sophia warmly. With infinite patience, he explained every step of the exam, always asking permission before proceeding. Anna held Sophia's hand throughout the process, offering silent comfort. Despite the professionalism of the staff, the tension was palpable, and every minute felt like an eternity for both mother and daughter. After the physical exam, Dr. Oliveira invited Anna for a private conversation while a nurse stayed with Sophia. In a calm but serious voice, he shared his findings, confirming Anna's worst fears. Silent tears ran down the mother's face as the doctor spoke. "Ms. Anna," he said gently, "in addition to physical care, it's crucial that Sophia receives psychological support. Emotional trauma can be just as devastating as any physical wound." He recommended a child psychologist specialized in abuse cases, emphasizing the importance of starting treatment as soon as possible. Anna nodded, feeling simultaneously grateful for the guidance and crushed by the reality of the situation. Returning to Sophia, Anna hugged her daughter tightly, silently promising to do everything in her power to help her overcome this trauma. With a heavy heart but determination, Anna took Sophia to the local police station. Maria accompanied them, offering moral support. The gray, austere building seemed even more intimidating under the circumstances. Inside, the bustling activity of the police was oppressive. Sophia clung to her mother's hand, her eyes wide with fear. An officer directed them to a more private room, where they were greeted by a detective specialized in crimes against children. Detective Carvalho, a middle-aged woman with compassionate eyes, spoke directly to Sophia, her voice soft and reassuring. Anna and Maria watched, their own emotions oscillating between anger, sadness, and a fierce determination to seek justice. The process of filing the report was long and emotionally exhausting, each detail recounted bringing waves of pain and indignation. In a specially designed room for interviews with children, decorated in soft colors and filled with toys, Sophia sat with Detective Carvalho. Anna watched through a one-way mirror, her heart aching. The detective, with years of experience, approached Sophia with calculated gentleness. She started with simple questions about school and Sophia's friends, gradually building a connection. Slowly, she guided the conversation towards the traumatic events. Sophia, initially hesitant, began to open up. Her words came out haltingly, sometimes interrupted by silent tears. The detective listened attentively, offering words of comfort and reassuring Sophia that she was safe now. On the other side of the mirror, Anna fought the urge to run in and hug her daughter, her own tears falling freely as she witnessed Sophia's courage in telling her story. After Sophia's interview, Maria and Anna were called into a meeting with Detective Carvalho and a representative from the district attorney's office. The atmosphere in the small conference room was tense and charged with emotion. The prosecutor, a serious-faced man, meticulously explained the legal process that would follow. He spoke of search warrants, potential charges, and the likelihood of a trial. Every word seemed to add weight to Anna and Maria's already heavy hearts. The detective added details about how the evidence would be collected and processed. She emphasized the importance of keeping records of any contact or threats from Carlos. Anna took frantic notes, determined not to miss any detail that could help the case. Maria, silent, absorbed everything, her expression a mixture of pain and resolve. Before leaving the station, the family was introduced to a social worker. With compassion evident in her voice, she offered a packet of information about various support services. Support groups for families affected by child abuse, trauma-specialized therapists, and even pro bono lawyers were mentioned. The social worker emphasized the importance of caring not just for Sophia, but also for Anna and Maria's mental health. She spoke about the impact of secondary trauma and how it could affect the entire family. Anna listened intently, feeling a mix of gratitude for the help offered and overwhelmed by the amount of information. Maria asked practical questions, her protective instincts driving her to seek concrete resources to help her granddaughter and daughter. As they left, both women felt exhausted but slightly more prepared for the challenges ahead. On the way home, Anna, Maria, and Sophia stopped at a quiet cafe. While Sophia distractedly played with a puzzle provided by the establishment, Anna and Maria spoke in hushed tones. "I think it would be best for Sophia to stay with you for a while, Mom," Anna whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. Maria nodded, understanding immediately. Anna's house was filled with memories of Carlos, family photos that now seemed like a cruel facade. Maria's home offered a refuge, free from those painful reminders. Additionally, Anna knew she would need time to deal with practical matters: work, lawyers, possible relocations. Sophia, sensing the serious conversation, approached timidly. When Anna explained the decision, Sophia's eyes lit up slightly for the first time in days. The idea of staying in her grandmother's cozy home, away from the shadows of her own, seemed to offer a small comfort amidst the chaos. The three embraced, forming a circle of love and protection, facing the uncertain road ahead together. With a heavy heart, Maria picked up the phone and began making calls. Her voice, usually warm, now carried an urgency that didn't go unnoticed by her relatives. One by one, she summoned family members for a meeting at her home, without revealing the reason, only emphasizing the importance of everyone being present. As the day of the meeting approached, the tension in her house was palpable. Sophia grew quieter, while Anna alternated between moments of fierce determination and periods of silent crying. Maria meticulously prepared the house, as if organizing the environment could somehow bring order to the emotional chaos about to unfold. When the moment finally arrived, and the doorbell rang announcing the first guests, Maria took a deep breath, knowing that nothing would be the same after this night. The silence that followed Maria's revelation was deafening. Pale faces and expressions of disbelief dominated the room. Then, like a dam breaking, the reactions began to flow. Aunt Beatrice broke into tears, hugging Sophia protectively. Uncle João, Carlos's brother, abruptly stood up, his face a mask of fury and denial. "This is impossible," he shouted. "Carlos would never do something like this." Cousins exchanged confused glances, some whispering among themselves. Sophia's paternal grandmother, An elderly woman, seemed to shrink in her chair, muttering prayers. Anna, her eyes blazing, faced each doubting look with fierce determination. Maria watched the scene unfold, her heart breaking at the pain on each face, but firm in her resolve to protect Sophia. The family, once united, now seemed irreparably divided. As the initial shock dissipated, voices defending Carlos began to emerge. Aunt Marta, always close to her brother, vehemently argued, "There must be some misunderstanding. Carlos loves children. He would never hurt Sophia." Others agreed, citing moments of Carlos's kindness and generosity over the years. Theories began to circulate. Maybe Sophia had misinterpreted an innocent gesture, or perhaps she was confused by something she saw on TV. Uncle Roberto suggested that maybe Anna was exaggerating, seeking attention. Every word of defense was like a dagger to Sophia, who shrank deeper into the sofa. Anna, furious, rebutted every argument, her voice trembling with emotion. Maria watched sadly as years of trust and family bonds crumbled in a matter of minutes, the poison of doubt spreading quickly. In the midst of the emotional chaos, Sophia grew smaller and smaller on the couch. Her eyes, wide and full of tears, darted from one familiar face to another. Each word of defense for Carlos, every expression of doubt, seemed to confirm her worst fears, that no one would believe her, that somehow this was all her fault. She pulled the sleeves of her sweater over her hands as if trying to hide within her own clothes. When Aunt Marta suggested she might be confused, Sophia felt a wave of nausea. Had she really misunderstood everything? Guilt and fear churned in her stomach, making her feel dizzy. She cast a pleading look at her mother and grandmother, searching for reassurance, but the chaos in the room was deafening. Sophia desperately wished she could disappear, escape the loud voices and accusing looks. Anna's voice rose above the turmoil, filled with a mixture of anger and maternal protection. "How dare you?" she shouted, momentarily silencing the room. "How dare you doubt a scared and hurt child?" Her eyes blazed as she faced each family member one by one. She reminded them of the signs they had ignored. Sophia's withdrawn behavior, her sudden fear of being alone with Carlos. Anna shared painful details from the medical exam, her voice breaking, but her determination unwavering. "My daughter is not lying, she's not confused, and she's certainly not seeking attention," she declared, pulling Sophia closer. "If you can't support her, if you can't believe her, then you're not the family we thought you were." Her words hung in the air, heavy and definitive, daring anyone to contradict her. Amid the emotional chaos, Maria stood up, her small figure now imposing. With a voice that allowed no argument, she announced, "From today, Carlos is forbidden from entering this house. He is no longer welcome here." Her declaration was met with a mixture of shocked gasps and silent nods. Uncle João vehemently protested, accusing Maria of condemning Carlos without a fair trial. Maria, however, remained unshaken. "This is not a court of justice," she replied calmly. "This is my house, and my duty is to protect my family, especially the most vulnerable." Her eyes turned to Sophia, full of love and determination. "I will not risk my granddaughter's safety and well-being. My decision is final." The tone of her voice made it clear that there was no room for discussion. A heavy silence fell over the room after Maria's declaration. Then, slowly, the conversation shifted to a broader concern. Cousin Luisa, a mother of 2 young girls, was the first to speak. "What about the other children in the family? How do we protect them?" This question opened the floodgates for an intense and painful discussion. Some suggested informing all the families with children about the accusations against Carlos. Others argued that this could be premature, potentially destroying Carlos's reputation if the accusations were not proven. Anna, still holding Sophia protectively, insisted that the children's safety had to be the top priority. Plans were made to never leave Carlos alone with any child, to closely monitor his interactions at family events. The tension in the room was palpable, with everyone aware that these decisions could permanently change the family dynamics. Twice a week, Anna took Sophia to Dr. Beatrice's office, a child psychologist specializing in trauma. The office, with its colorful walls and shelves full of toys, felt like an oasis of normalcy amid the chaos. Initially, Sophia was reticent, responding only with nods and monosyllables. Dr. Beatrice, patient and gentle, used play therapy techniques to help Sophia express herself. Gradually, through drawings, dolls, and games, Sophia began to open her heart. She drew monsters hiding in closets and acted out scenes with dolls that talked about bad secrets. With each session, a small part of the burden Sophia carried seemed to lift. Anna, waiting in the next room, watched with a mixture of pain and hope as the small changes in her daughter unfolded. The journey was long, but each shy smile from Sophia after a session was a beacon of light in the darkness. Sophia's school routine became a carefully orchestrated operation. Maria and Anna created a detailed schedule, ensuring that one of them was always available to drop off and pick up Sophia. They arrived early, keeping an eye on every car that approached, every adult that passed by. Sophia, once independent, now clung to her mother's or grandmother's hand until the last possible moment before entering school. Anna spoke with the teachers, explaining the situation without going into details, asking them to keep an eye out for any unusual behavior or unexpected visits. Maria, for her part, made friends with other grandparents and parents at the school gate, creating an informal network of vigilance. Though exhausting, this new routine brought a sense of purpose and control for Anna and Maria, a tangible way to protect Sophia as she tried to regain a sense of normalcy. In the classroom, Sophia struggled to stay focused. Her mind often wandered, lost in memories and fears. She startled at loud noises, her eyes constantly checking the doors and windows. Her classmates, noticing the change, began to treat her differently. Some whispered and pointed, while others simply avoided her, unsure how to act around the strange girl. During recess, Sophia preferred to stay alone, drawing in her notebook or watching the others from a distance. Her teacher, Mrs. Oliveira, watched with concern as Sophia isolated herself. She gently tried to include Sophia in group activities, but the girl often withdrew. Sophia's grades, once excellent, began to slip. Unfinished assignments and blank tests piled up, reflecting the internal battle she faced daily. One afternoon after school, Anna met with Mrs. Oliveira. With tears in her eyes, she explained the situation, omitting specific details but emphasizing the trauma Sophia was facing. Mrs. Oliveira listened attentively, her face a mixture of shock and compassion. She immediately offered to help in any way possible. Together, they developed a support plan, extra time for assignments, a quiet place for Sophia to calm down when feeling overwhelmed, and special attention to ensure her inclusion in social activities. Mrs. Oliveira also suggested additional school resources, such as sessions with the school counselor. She promised to keep Anna informed about Sophia's progress and any concerns that might arise. As Anna left the meeting, she felt a small sense of relief, grateful to have one more ally in the fight for her daughter's recovery. Maria's house became a sanctuary for Sophia. Every room was carefully prepared to offer comfort and safety. Maria removed family photos that included Carlos, replacing them with happy images of Sophia with her mother and grandmother. She created a safe corner in the living room, with soft pillows, favorite books, and comforting toys. The kitchen always smelled of freshly baked cookies, a constant reminder of happier days. Maria installed new locks and an alarm system, not just for physical security, but to give Sophia a tangible sense of protection. She learned mindfulness and meditation techniques, incorporating them into Sophia's nighttime routine. Each night before bed, grandmother and granddaughter practiced breathing exercises together, creating a ritual that helped Sophia feel centered and calm. Maria's home became not just a refuge from the outside world, but a space for healing and renewal. In the middle of the night, a sharp scream cut through the silence of the house. Maria rushed to Sophia's room, finding her curled up in bed, trembling and sobbing. "He was here, Grandma. He was trying to get me," Sophia cried, clinging to Maria with all her strength. Maria gently rocked her, whispering words of comfort. After calming Sophia, she suggested that her granddaughter sleep in her room for the rest of the night. In Maria's room, Sophia finally relaxed, feeling safe under her grandmother's watchful eye. In the following days, Sophia refused to sleep alone. Maria rearranged her bedroom, creating a cozy space for Sophia next to her own bed. Though worried about Sophia's regression, Maria understood that this was a necessary step in the healing process. Together, they created a new nighttime routine, full of comforting stories and silent promises of protection. Sophia's 11th birthday was approaching, bringing with it a mix of emotions. Anna and Maria were determined to make the day a celebration of life and hope, a pause in the storm that had become their lives. They planned carefully, considering Sophia's feelings and comfort in every detail. The party was small and intimate, only with the closest and most trusted people. Maria's house was decorated in Sophia's favorite colors, balloons and ribbons, creating a festive, but not overwhelming atmosphere. The cake, baked by Maria herself, was Sophia's favorite flavor. Carefully chosen gifts, books, art supplies, a diary with a lock, were given with love. During the party, there were tense moments when Sophia withdrew, overwhelmed. But there were also moments of genuine laughter, especially when she opened a surprise gift, a small puppy, a companion to offer unconditional love and comfort. Seeing Sophia's radiant smile as she hugged the puppy, Anna and Maria exchanged hopeful glances. This birthday, though different from previous ones, marked not just another year of life, but the beginning of a new journey of healing and rebirth for Sophia. One sunny afternoon, Anna, Maria, and Sophia entered the office of Dr. Carla Mendez, a renowned lawyer specializing in child abuse cases. The environment, though professional, had welcoming touches designed for young clients. Sophia clung to a teddy bear provided by the receptionist. Dr. Mendez, a middle-aged woman with kind but determined eyes, greeted the family warmly. She began by explaining the legal process in simple terms, using metaphors Sophia could understand. Anna asked incisive questions, her notebook quickly filling with notes. Maria, silent but attentive, observed Sophia's reactions. The lawyer emphasized that the path would be difficult, but that they were not alone. She introduced a multidisciplinary team, social workers, forensic psychologists, all dedicated to supporting Sophia throughout the process. By the end of the meeting, despite the palpable anxiety, there was a sense of renewed direction and purpose. Dr. Mendez unrolled a large sheet of paper across the table, revealing a detailed timeline of the legal process. She meticulously explained each step: the formal complaint, the police investigation, the collection of evidence, the preliminary hearings, and finally, the trial. She didn't sugarcoat the reality. There would be difficult moments, challenging interrogations, and possible media exposure. Anna shuddered at the mention of Carlos potentially being released on bail. The lawyer, noticing the fear, quickly detailed the protective measures that could be requested. She emphasized the importance of keeping detailed records of any contact or threats. Maria asked about the family's role in the process, concerned about relatives who still doubted. Dr. Mendez explained how character witnesses could influence the case, for better or for worse. By the end, though overwhelmed with information, the family felt more prepared for the challenges ahead. In a specially designed children's room at Dr. Mendez's office, Sophia sat with a forensic psychologist. The professional, using a doll and a small replica of a courtroom, began gently explaining what it meant to testify. Sophia nervously played with her hair as she listened. The psychologist emphasized that Sophia only needed to tell the truth, and that there were no right or wrong answers. They practiced breathing exercises for moments of anxiety and discussed strategies for when Sophia felt overwhelmed. On the other side of the one-way mirror, Anna and Maria watched, their hearts heavy. Seeing Sophia practice how to answer questions about the abuse was almost unbearable. Dr. Mendez, standing beside them, explained the special measures that could be requested to protect Sophia during testimony, such as protective screens or video testimony. Despite efforts to make the process as untraumatic as possible, Sophia's anxiety was palpable, reflecting the enormous burden resting on her young shoulders. One tense night, after Sophia had gone to sleep, Anna, Maria, and Dr. Mendez gathered in the living room. The lawyer presented a new possibility: an out-of-court settlement. She explained the advantages: avoiding the trauma of a public trial, a quicker resolution, and sparing Sophia the stress of testifying. However, there were also disadvantages: a potentially lighter sentence for Carlos, and the feeling that full justice had not been served. Anna paced the room, torn. Part of her wanted to see Carlos face a public trial, exposed for his actions. Another part wanted to spare Sophia more suffering. Maria, always pragmatic, asked about the long-term implications of each option. The discussion stretched into the night, weighing the pros and cons of each. In the end, they decided to seriously consider the settlement option, but agreed to consult Sophia before making a final decision. The choice weighed heavily on them, each option carrying its own long-lasting consequences. While cleaning the attic, trying to distract herself from the tension of the legal preparations, Maria made a shocking discovery. Hidden in an old shoebox, she found a pile of old letters. With trembling hands, she began to read. They were correspondences between Carlos and a childhood friend, dated years ago. In the letters, Carlos made veiled references to special tastes and little secrets. The content, though not explicitly incriminating, suggested a disturbing pattern of behavior dating back to Carlos's youth. Maria, feeling a mix of nausea and determination, immediately called Dr. Mendez. The lawyer arrived quickly, examining the letters with growing interest. She explained that while they weren't direct evidence of Sophia's abuse, these letters could establish a history of suspicious behavior, potentially significantly strengthening the case. Maria, though shaken by the discovery, felt a glimmer of hope that this evidence could help protect not only Sophia, but potentially other children as well. Anna spent sleepless nights, the weight of the decision about Sophia's testimony pressing on her conscience. She tossed and turned in bed, imagining her daughter on the witness stand, facing painful questions and Carlos's gaze. On the other hand, she feared that without Sophia's testimony, Carlos might escape justice. One afternoon, she took Sophia for a walk in the park, seeking a moment of normalcy. Watching her daughter play, momentarily carefree, Anna felt her heart break. She consulted Sophia's psychologist, who warned about the potential additional trauma of testifying, but also mentioned the empowering potential of Sophia facing her abuser. Anna spoke at length with Maria, debating the pros and cons. Finally, she decided that the final choice should be Sophia's. In a delicate conversation, she explained the situation to her daughter, promising to support her no matter what she decided. Sophia's response, though hesitant, surprised Anna with its maturity and courage. The official envelope arrived on a Tuesday morning. Anna opened it with trembling hands, Maria by her side. The trial date, printed in cold official letters, seemed to jump off the page. Suddenly, everything became all too real. Anna felt her legs give way, and Maria gently guided her to the sofa. They sat in silence for a long moment, the weight of what was coming hanging over them. Sophia, sensing the change in the atmosphere, cautiously approached. Seeing the paper, she instantly understood, her eyes filling with silent tears. The family embraced, united in their fear and determination. In the days that followed, the tension in the house was palpable. Anna became more protective, checking the locks repeatedly. Maria cooked incessantly, as if she could ward off fear with the smell of cakes and cookies. Sophia had more frequent nightmares, often waking up screaming. The trial date marked not just the beginning of the legal battle, but also a countdown to a moment that would change their lives forever. After months of regular sessions with Dr. Beatriz, Sophia began to show subtle but significant signs of progress. Her drawings, once dominated by dark colors and frightening figures, now occasionally included rays of sunshine and flowers. During sand therapy sessions, Sophia built scenes where small animal figures protected one another, a reflection of her growing sense of security. Dr. Beatriz noticed that Sophia was more willing to verbalize her feelings, using words instead of just gestures or silence. In one particularly emotional session, Sophia managed to talk about the abuse without having a panic attack, an important milestone in her healing journey. Anna, upon receiving the progress report, cried with relief and gratitude. Though the path was still long, these small steps were like beacons of hope, lighting the way toward a brighter future for Sophia. One quiet afternoon, Maria introduced Sophia to a new hobby, gardening. Together, they transformed a small flower bed in the backyard into a special project. Maria taught Sophia about different types of seeds, patiently explaining how each plant needed specific care to grow strong and healthy. Sophia, initially hesitant, soon became excited about the idea of creating life from tiny seeds. They spent hours together, hands in the soil, planting, watering, and tending to their seedlings. Maria used gentle metaphors, comparing the growth of the plants to Sophia's healing journey. "See how this flower is growing even after yesterday's storm?" she said softly. "Sometimes life can be hard, but with love and care we can overcome and bloom." Sophia absorbed these lessons, finding comfort and hope in nature's resilience. This new ritual became a sacred moment for grandmother and granddaughter, a safe space for conversation, laughter, and healing. In a cozy room at a community center, Sophia, Anna, and Maria joined other families affected by child abuse. The circle of chairs was intimidating at first, but the group therapist, with her calm and welcoming voice, soon created an atmosphere of safety and acceptance. Sophia, initially withdrawn, watched as other children shared their experiences. Slowly, she began to open up, first whispering to Anna, then speaking directly to the group. Anna, listening to other mothers, found comfort in knowing she wasn't alone in her struggle. She shared her fears and hopes, tears running freely. Maria, always the family's rock, surprised everyone by revealing her own vulnerability, talking about the guilt she felt for not noticing the signs earlier. The session was emotionally exhausting but also cathartic. As they left, there was a new sense of connection and mutual understanding. The family realized that healing wasn't a solitary journey, but a path that could be walked together with others who understood their pain. At recess, Sophia sat alone, as usual, when a new student, Luisa, approached. Luisa, with her easy smile and warm personality, asked if she could join Sophia. Hesitant at first, Sophia nodded shyly. To her surprise, Luisa didn't ask invasive questions or look at her with pity. Instead, they began talking about books, discovering a shared love for fantasy stories. In the following days, Luisa consistently sought Sophia out, inviting her to play or simply sit together. Gradually, Sophia began to open up. She laughed at Luisa's jokes, shared her snack, and even suggested games during recess. Anna noticed the change in Sophia. She returned from school with a sparkle in her eyes that had been absent for so long. This new friendship acted as a balm, reminding Sophia that she was more than her trauma. With Luisa, she could simply be an 11-year-old girl, enjoying simple moments of joy and normalcy. One quiet night, while Sophia slept peacefully for the first time in months, Maria sat on the porch, a cup of tea in her hands, lost in thought. She reflected on the turbulent journey her family had endured. The initial shock, the anger, the fear, all those emotions were still present, but now they were accompanied by something else: resilience. Maria observed how Anna, once so dependent on her to make decisions, had now become a fierce advocate not just for Sophia, but for other families in similar situations. She thought about Sophia, how her granddaughter, despite unimaginable pain, still found reasons to smile and dream. Maria recognized that this experience, though devastating, had also forged stronger bonds between them. Trust had been broken, but a new strength had been discovered. Silent tears ran down Maria's face, not just of sadness, but of deep pride for the strength of her family. Sitting at the kitchen table, steaming cups of coffee between them, Anna and Maria discussed the future in low voices. The idea of a move hung in the air, a fresh start, away from the shadows of the past. Anna talked about a job offer in another city, an opportunity she would have previously dismissed but now seemed like a chance to begin anew. Maria, though heavy-hearted at the thought of distance, understood the need for a new environment for Sophia. They weighed the pros and cons. New friends for Sophia, distance from family members who still doubted, the chance to build a life without constant reminders of the trauma. However, there were also concerns. Leaving behind the support network they had built, the fear of the unknown. The conversation was long and emotional, full of intertwined hopes and fears. In the end, they decided to present the idea to Sophia, acknowledging that her opinion was crucial in this decision that would affect the whole family. One sunny afternoon, Sophia was in the garden with Maria, tending to the plants they had grown together. Suddenly, she stopped, looking at a small flower that had just bloomed. "Grandma," she said softly, "I think I'm going to be okay." Maria, surprised by the sudden declaration, knelt beside her granddaughter. Sophia continued, her voice gaining strength. It's like these flowers. Even when it's cold and dark, they keep growing, right? And then one day, they bloom. Her eyes, once so often clouded by fear, now shone with a new light. I think I'm like them. It's been hard, but I'm growing, and one day, I'll bloom too. Maria, tears in her eyes, hugged Sophia tightly. This moment of clarity and hope, coming from Sophia, was more precious than any progress measured in therapy sessions or school reports. It was a testament to Sophia's incredible resilience, a sign that despite the scars, she was finding the strength to move forward and even bloom.